Hamilton Tiger Cats fans,
You're not done here, Ticats.
we have the Ticats info you need on their road to Regina. Here on the Ticats Audio Network. From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Louie.
Yes, it is Ticats Today for a Thursday, November the 3rd, 2022. Thanks for checking us out on the Ticats Audio Network. We got another jam-packed show for you today, so I don't want to waste any time. We're going to get right into it. Coming up on today's show, from the CFL on TSN, Matthew Scianitti is going to be by. He was at practice today, which was a closed practice, so we didn't even get to watch anything, but we did get to talk, and we'll get to that conversation coming up. I also had a chance to catch up one-on-one with Jovan Santos-Knox, the team's nominee for Most Outstanding Defensive Player. He's also a CFL East Division All-Star. Had a chance to go one-on-one with Micah Johnson. We'll play that for you. And from post-practice availabilities, we'll hear from the head coach of the Ticats, Coach Steinauer, and we'll hear from All-Star, East Division All-Star Tunde Adeleke as well. And, well, let's get to it. The news of the day, of course, is that there were some changes to the All-Star edition. There was a corrected list of All-Stars. In case you missed it, there was some tabulation and weighting of votes errors. So there were some changes, and the CFL did release a statement offering its sincere apologies to everyone involved. They've issued an apology to the CFLPA, and they say, quote, the responsibility for the mistake was solely with the CFL and not those who cast ballots or the CFLPA. And with that, the Ticats were with the Calgary Stampeders for the most players named as All-Stars. So that was pretty cool to see. Yeah, 11 Ticats. That's 4 more than were originally announced. And let's run through them again for you. Tim White, Stephen Dunbar Jr., Brandon Revenberg. Some changes. Julian Hauser, now an East Division All-Star for the first time, which is crazy to think that this is the first time he's been a East Division All-Star. Micah Johnson is a Divisional All-Star for the 5th time in his career, first as a member in the East. Jovan Santos-Knox, he's still an All-Star. Cam Kelly, which is one that I pointed out yesterday, I was a little confused about, but all makes sense there, is Cam Kelly, Jamal Roll, Richard Leonard, Tunde Adeleke, and Seth Small, also named an All-Star. And before practice started, as is it usually the case, Seth Small was one of the first on the football field today. Just shook his hand real quick, congratulated him. He said it was actually Cariel Brooks who texted him yesterday to let him know that he was an All-Star, but very cool to see Seth Small, not only the team's nominee for Rookie of the Year and Most Outstanding Special Teams Player, but now an All-Star as well. So congrats to Seth Small, and I congratulated him on his award, and he said the only one that matters is the Grey Cup, and he's honored to be named, but he's looking for that bigger one. So there were some changes. We'll try to catch up with all the All-Stars, and as mentioned, I went one-on-one with Micah Johnson and Jovan Santos-Knox. We'll get to those conversations coming up later on in the show. It was a closed practice, so nothing I can really tell you. I in fact, asked Coach what he saw at practice, since the rest of us couldn't watch. Here's what he had to say after practice, and we caught up with him.
Yeah, just ready to go. Just prepared, anxious. A lot of competition, people competing out there. We're coaches. Execution and satisfaction are not where it needs to be, but like the direction we're heading and into day 3. Yeah, like he can get hot in a hurry. Like he's proven it. He's a champion in this league. He understands, and he's done it in various spots on the team. You know what I mean? As a backup, obviously he was in Toronto when I was there and different things. So he knows what it looks like, and he's proven. So he's got them in a role. He's helped get them to a home playoff game. So, that's the history, that's the resume. But, the lead up is fun, but you got to play the game. Well, not to state the obvious, but, their crowd is definitely going to play a factor. It's always a tough place to play. It gets really loud in there, and we're trying to prepare the best we can for that. And so I think that's it. But other than that, it's football. Yeah, they're going to get to sleep in their own bed if they so choose, and all those other things, and the familiarity of it. But once it comes down to football, it's just football. So, yeah, I think home field, generally speaking, is an advantage. We're not afforded that, but we're excited to see where our football team's at on Sunday. Well, you can score a lot of points. You could do that. The challenge is they're usually loudest when our offense is on the field, right? So it's going to be hard to quiet them down, but that's it. That's the advantage of playing at home. And so we don't worry about that. We can't control it. But obviously, if you put points on the board and you're able to get control of a football game, that usually helps subside it. But even so, they're going to back their football team regardless of where they're at in the game. Well, he's able to get the job done, right? Be it as a starter, as a backup. It's that simple. I could get into fine fixtures and details, but it's really that he's willing to do whatever role it takes. And obviously the one that stands out the biggest is the East Final last year when we had that 2-quarterback thing going. And I just, it's, in big games, you got to perform. And that's not just Dane, that's everybody, right? Our coach's job is to prepare and the player's job is to perform. And so, Dane's proven that he can perform on the biggest stage.
How is he feeling this week so far?
He's a better one to ask. He hasn't missed any reps, to be honest with you. He's been out there. You're going to see tape on there, but he can make all the throws. If you're out there, you still can hear the ball whistling through the air. Dane will be fine.
That is the head coach and president of football ops, Coach Steinauer, as we caught up with him after practice. And as always, full practice scrums available at Ticats.ca. That's where you'll be able to hear the full comments of Tunde Adeleke as we caught up with him today after practice. Here's what he had to say about being named an All-Star.
It just means a lot to get recognized by other coaches in the PA for things you do. And it's like you get shown or seen for 3 hours, but you put in a lot of work in practice and meetings and things like that. So it's always nice to get recognized, but at the end of the day, we're all just here for one thing. We're here to win a Grey Cup. It's like everyone knows they have a good receiving core, and with Stanback back, they have a solid running back and a solid group of running backs actually. So yeah, they're an all-around good offense. Trevor Harris is a seasoned quarterback. So we played these guys a good amount of time to understand what they're going to do to try to beat us, and they're going to know what we're going to do to try to beat them. So it's just whoever plays their best football. It's one of the best things to have is a veteran room, and a veteran room with a bunch of guys who have played into the playoffs and in Grey Cups and in big games. So yeah, like when we're in meetings, when we correct things, it's not always our coach coming at us and saying you need to fix this, and guys get a little bit of a big head. It's a lot of times it's just another guy saying, hey, like, you need to work on this. And when your peer corrects you, it's a little bit like easier to take, and you want to fix it because that's the guy you're battling on the field with, So I think that's the best thing about having this group is we're out there trying to get each other better every day. And if one of us makes a play, we'll say you can make a better play kind of thing, So that's the best thing about our group. He's like a seasoned vet, right? So he's a very good rhythm quarterback. If you let him get a little bit of a rhythm, get like 3-4 completions, he's just gonna feed off that and keep going, So you have to disrupt his. You gotta disrupt him, and you gotta disrupt that offense. And that's almost with every quarterback, to be honest. If you let them get started, they're gonna heat up and they're gonna kill you, So we just gotta play our football and play how we played all year and just finish.
And that is Tunde Adeleke as we caught up with him after practice. You can go to Ticats.ca to hear his full comments as well, as he is a East Division All-Star, as is Micah Johnson and Jovan Santos-Knox. And I had a chance to catch up with each of those men one-on-one, and we'll play those back-to-back here. And we'll start with Micah Johnson and how he felt about being named an All-Star.
Honestly, to me, it means a lot, bro. Like, I take, not to say that no one else does, everybody else does, but I take, this football stuff real serious. So, for me, just the fact that you're away from your family like you have to be, the sacrifice you have to make, all the work you're putting in behind the scenes, that's really what it makes it feel real good, bro, for all those times and all the sacrifices kind of and I mean, even if I wasn't All-Star, not to say it wouldn't, but it just feels good, bro. You want to be recognized anytime you're doing something for as long as I have. And then, like you said, it being my first year in the East, coming to a new team, you know what I'm saying, it definitely meant a lot, this year.
I have a feeling a lot of this is because of the success of your teammates, though, too, right? You look at, Malik doesn't put up 7 sacks if you're not getting double teamed, right? House doesn't put up the number. So what does it mean with the teammates that you have around you and to see House get recognized, too? What does that mean, too?
It means dope, man. D-tackle is one of them positions that you kind of learn, that you just do a lot of dirty work and a lot of unsung stuff. And at times like that, it's when you kind of hoping, the media and the fans and everybody's paying attention to the little stuff, because as a D tackle, you can play a great game and literally, like, you might get a tackle or you won't get a sack, and it's like your coach is telling you, you played awesome. So you're kind of hoping that you get recognized for that, and just people aren't just looking at the, the sack columns and stuff like that. So for me, I've always had pride, of trying to open up things for guys around me. And, that's always been my track record. And anybody that plays, outside of me, like, you're going to have a season, bro. Like, I'm going to open it up for you. I'm going to work with you. And, I have pride in that. So, go ahead.
Yeah, you played in a lot of talented rooms, right? You've played with a lot of talented D-lines. This one seems like the perfect mix of that veteran and those young guys who come in eager to prove, like Mo coming in, or Malik or Wilcots, a young guy who's got something to prove. Why am I reading that right? That it just feels like the perfect mix of guys?
It does. Football's a funny thing. It's a funny place because everything is young. And if you really know ball like that, young doesn't always win you championships. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the whole mental aspect of the game that people try not to look at. So for us, it was just like me, Teddy, Julian, just trying to provide leadership and just be somebody that the guys could talk to, just showing them all the little stuff and just things they're not even talking about. And like you said, they all hungry, crazy athletic. You got a guy like Mace that can rush inside, literally all along the line. Malik, we call him Scoop. I mean, just the fact that what he does on special teams and then lines up and does it, like, I don't see how he does it. Like, he's a flat-out monster, and just to rush like he does. And then, you got Julian that just literally does everything. So you got it right. I think it's a good mix, and you got a lot of guys with a lot of different tools in their belt. So I just think it helps us out and makes us versatile, and you got guys that can play all up the line.
When you look at this Montreal team, their run game is obviously a big part of it. You haven't seen Stanback this year, but you know what he can do. But you guys, number 1 run defense in the league. It feels like something's got to give here.
Yeah, I like it, dog. It remind me like I came up in the SEC where it was bully ball. Like, you getting 40 runs a game. So for me, it's like, hell yeah, like, let's bite down and see what happens. But I mean, they're a good offensive team. They got a good scheme, and they got 3 very good backs. Like you said, Stanback leads it. I think everybody sees his size and the power and everything like that. But the biggest thing to me that I see with him is his great vision. Sets up his runs well, and then he has the quickness to be able to get out on the edge, and now he's out on the edge rolling downhill, on your secondary guys, and, that's a tough sled. And so for us, it's just kind of trying to contain him, keep him in that box, keep him in between the tackles, get multiple hits on him, and just kind of get his feet stuttering. But when he can just hit things straight, then, it's big-time problems, a real powerful back. The offensive line does a good job blocking for him well. So it's just going to be a physical game, man. And, we believe in ourselves from that aspect.
What's the key to getting in Trevor Harris's grill? How are you going to disrupt his day to keep him off his toes? Because, when he has time, you got a guy like Eugene Lewis in the receiving game. How do you create problems for Trevor?
For Trevor's one of the not one of the few, but he really steps up in the pocket, really on his last drop when he gets that ball, and he's stepping up 2-3 yards into the pocket. So for us inside, it's just critical for our push and our havoc. We're reaching inside because he really doesn't like when he feels that pressure up the middle, you know what I mean? And that's when he can step up in a clean pocket, and he'll throw the ball all over the field. So for us interior, really having pride and just being real disruptive inside, just trying to keep pressure in his face, and a lot of times it doesn't mean you're getting sacks, but it's so much alter throws and so much different things that you want to do, throwing off timing and things. He's a real rhythm quarterback. So for us, it's just about kind of creating havoc up the middle and, trying to break that rhythm and stop the run game, get him out the short game.
Why do you believe in this group in that room?
It's easy for me just because what I've seen us go through this year. This year was crazy. Like when I chose to come here,
this wasn't what you were expecting. It wasn't
necessarily what I expected. It's just like, well, you're in free agency. thank God I had a lot of options, a lot of different teams that wanted me. So I chose to come here to Hamilton. So for me, it was like, okay, you're choosing somewhere. I felt like the leadership, everything, staff, everything, like, I can just come in and play ball. And so seeing them going to the Grey Cup back-to-back when we're looking at it, we're 1-5-ish and stuff, it's like, yo, this is rough right now, you know what I mean? But Coach O came in there every week, man, and said he believed in us, and I watched the guys grind through it. Like, I watched everybody in this locker room grind through it, you know what I'm saying? And it was ugly and it was dark at times. The guys still, held their head and came in here and worked. And I watched us change the course of our season. And I don't think, when we're sitting there 1-5, I don't think most people are expecting us to get to the playoffs or, be able to win 5 of the last 6, however much we did. So, for me, I just believe because I saw us do it. I saw us grind through it. Like, I think we're one of the most battle-tested teams out there.
Yeah, it's an honor. There's a lot of great players in this league, so to be, selected as, one of the top at your position, it's always it's an honor, and especially seeing all the guys, we got a bunch of guys, 11, I think, named to the All-Star, so, it's just a testament to the great players we have on this team.
Does it make it more special considering everything this team has been through this season?
It's been a lot this year. I really feel like it's been a long season, but we've grown so much, and just to see how we finished compared to where we start. We're not done, nowhere near to where we want to be done yet. But just the growth of this team, it shows. I think it shows with those 11 picks. Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to Micah about this. He said I was a free agent. I had a lot of teams that wanted me. I wanted to come here. And things didn't go the way you wanted it to. But is that the story of the 2022 Ticats?
We had such huge expectations. I remember going into the season, and we kind of got humbled. We were humbled, season, it's a long season. Injuries happen. Things happen in the season you can't account for. So, we did have huge goals, but, it's the great thing about this sport is that all the goals we wanted are still in front of us, Obviously, we want to go undefeated. That's the only thing that we can't do now. But everything we want is still out there, yeah.
This Montreal offense got three-headed monster at running back. They have the East MOP nominee in Eugene Lewis, who particularly against the Ticats seems to make those big plays late in the fourth quarter, third downs, right? I mean, what's the key when it comes to slowing this offense down? I
mean, you just said it. They got players all over the field. I mean, and they're being led by Trevor Harris, who, long-time leader in this league, who's been very successful, has had his runs in this league. So, they're a very potent offense. Eugene is just a special, unique player. You got to just try to tame him as much as you can, because I don't really think they're stopping him completely. And then, like you said, they're getting the groove back. They got stand back. So, they got 3 really solid, 3 really great running backs. And they do a lot of different things, and they play well together. So, it's definitely a big challenge, and we're looking forward to it, though. It's part of football.
And that is Jovan Santos-Knox. And before that, Micah Johnson, as I had a chance to catch up with each of those men one-on-one after practice today about being named an East Division All-Star and getting set for Sunday's East Final. For more, I'm very pleased now to be joined by the CFL on TSN's Matthew Scianitti. And Matthew, going off what we just heard from Micah there a few minutes ago, he was talking about how this team is special. This team is battle-tested. You've watched a lot of this team over the years. Why is this group different?
I think when you look at Louie, what happened against Calgary, against Edmonton, I think about that Calgary game when Dave Dickinson's looking at me coming into the second half. He must have laid into his team at that point, and then to watch the Ticats give that game away. Turnovers were a real bugaboo for this team, especially those first few weeks of the season. Then you compound that with the injuries, not just the offensive line, not just to Simone Lawrence, not just to their quarterback, but everywhere. Yeah. And to see that messaging, to know that Micah said to us that there were times where he wanted to apologize to the coaching staff because he felt the players weren't measuring up, and then to see, again, to put the attention on Micah, the way the defensive line has really become the defensive line in this league, stopping the run as they have, what they did to the Saskatchewan Roughriders here just about a month ago to really propel them forward towards this playoff push. I asked it of Orlando Steinauer. Experience is a key for this team. Micah wasn't part of those 2 Grey Cup losses, mind you, but 2018 he was all world in terms of being a defensive tackle. So this team, that experience, the way they've learned lessons, is definitely going to benefit them going into the East semifinal.
Tunde mentioned it. You got to be hot at the right time. This team's hot. 5-1 their last 6, 4 in a row. How much does momentum play into this in your experience watching teams at this time of year seem to figure it out? And what's the counter if you're Montreal?
Hamilton wants to have the momentum because they don't want Trevor Harris to have it, because they have seen Trevor Harris in playoff games come and there's always this perceived knock on Harris that he doesn't perform in playoffs, but those first couple of weeks, whether it's in the semifinal or the East final that he started in, he becomes automatic if you give him an opportunity. And the one thing that when I was saying to Adeleke and asked him about was just when you look at that secondary, Carriel Brooks, Jamal Roll, even though Richard Litter wasn't here last year, he'd been there in 2019. These are all guys who play together. And in this league, with as much turnover as there always is in the CFL, to have a group of 5 guys in your secondary who understand each other, Adeleke said it, we can call each other out, and it's not, no one takes it personally. That is real key going into a situation, knowing that you're facing a team that has 3 running backs that could cause a lot of problems, but mainly William Stanback, who, although Adeleke said he wants to go low on him, this is a guy who will hit you, and then hit you again. The Ticats have a guy like that in West Hills, as he was telling us too. But this is going to be a game where, yes, turnovers are always important in any game, especially the playoffs, but establishing that line of scrimmage early. The Ticats know all about it in their runs to 2 straight Grey Cups. It's going to be beneficial not only offensively for Dane Evans, and if Tommy Condell decides to work in a little Matthew Schultz and West Hills, but defensively as well, given how dominant their defensive line has been. Establishing the line of scrimmage will benefit Adeleke and the rest of the secondary.
You brought up turnovers. Reading the stat packs that are put out by the league, the Ticats fumbled the ball 27 times this season. Their opponent fumbled the ball 9 times. 27 fumbles. A lot of those lost, and a lot of those on Dane, who has figured it out, it seems, lately on protecting the football. But, I mean, Coach Sal talked about this week. What's the leash on Dane with a guy like Matthew Schultz?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a question because, as well as, and Orlando Steinauer talked about it today, Dane knows how to win you playoff games. Certainly his signature moment was the East Final coming in last year, and the comeback that he had against the Argos. But ball security is key. Like it's going to be loud there. They have a good defense as well. It is especially if Dane feels, if Harris does get hot and Dane feels, not that he has to force it, but that he has to go, hey, like, we got to score points here. It's about having that communication between Dane and Condell and Coach Steinauer, and making sure that he is okay, like just staying in the game. And he knows how to stay in the moment. What's going to be interesting, though, is what does Tommy Condell have up his sleeve? Because you and I have seen it before, especially in playoff games. There is one coach, offensive coach in this league, who really does take his days off, his closed practices, I should say, very seriously, and that's Tommy Condell, because he's someone who wants to put something exotic in, try something different. So I don't necessarily think it's a leash that's on Dane Evans, but I think that he will do something early to try to go ahead, maybe instill confidence in Dane and his offense, but do something to unsettle Montreal defensively.
Montreal's the home team, but do you get the sense that the Ticats are feeling more pressure in this game?
This team came in with one goal, which is to win the Grey Cup. You were here, Louie, last year when they lost it. And as much as we keep talking about the dynasty that the Blue Bombers are trying to build, the Ticats could be saying the same thing. If not for 2 games, the Ticats would be the ones looking at three-peating. When I said to Orlando Steinauer, I'm going to ask you something I've always asked you, he had a bit of a chuckle, because I have asked him routinely the value of the experience on this team, not because I'm trying to be repetitive.
I mean, even in 2019, you were asking that question about teams that went to back-to-back Grey Cups.
But the thing is that the one thing about the Ticats, and I know it gets tiresome to bring it up, is there's a culture here. And there are guys who have been here before, and they have. It's not so much to be generic, but as the season goes on, to go back to Micah's point, these are guys who know how to fix problems and know how to fix stuff. And when you have guys who know what it's like to go to a Grey Cup, lose another one at home, it's not an indictment on them, but these guys become battle tested, they become weathered, and they know how to go ahead and walk into Percival Molson with that crowd as it will be. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on them because There are so many great leaders on this team who have excelled in big moments, but they haven't been to that big moment yet. And it's not that Montreal has nothing to lose. They have, Trevor Harris is a guy still wanting to start in a Grey Cup and win it on his own. William Stanback wants to prove to the whole league that he should have been the MOP a few years ago. Like there are, Eugene Lewis wants to finally have his big East Final and or Grey Cup moment. So there's pressure on both sides, but particularly for the Ticats, knowing everything that they've had to overcome this season, the mistakes and the turnovers and the injuries. Yeah, they have set themselves as a veteran group who expects to win on Sunday.
We're going to miss you after this week, but best of luck with the World Cup coverage. Everything
I'll miss
you've
you,
been
Louie.
doing. Thank you, man. I appreciate
Louie,
that.
listen, I miss our chats on the sidelines. I don't see you often enough, but there's the one thing I will miss. If it happens to be an East Final, and I make no predictions, you know that, but if it happens to be an East Final between the Argos and the Ticats at BMO, as much as yes, the World Cup and a World Cup like this is a once in a lifetime, there is nothing to compare to the 2013 East Final. There's nothing the energy of last year's East Final in 2021. For the fifth time, if it is Argos Ticats, it'll be something. It'll also be something if it's Owls Argos, but I will be missing. I'll be missing my CFL family.
And Matthew Scianitti will definitely be missed by the CFL family as he gets set to head to Bahrain to cover the World Cup on TSN. My thanks to Matthew for joining me. My thanks to Micah and Jovan as well. And my thanks to you because you are the reason we do this show every day. That's why we call it Ticats Today. And speaking of which, we'll be here tomorrow to finish off the week ahead of Sunday's East semi-final. We'll talk to you then from all of us here at the Ticats Audio Network. From Louie Butko. Hope you have a great day.
The Ticats begin the playoffs.
Hopefully you'll see us again coming down King or Main Street when it really counts.
And you'll hear it all here on the Ticats Audio Network.